Welcome, 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 welcome. You are in the right place if you are here for No One Left Behind, AI, ESI, and your future career. We're going to give everybody a few seconds to slowly come into the room and join us. And I am super excited about this webinar today. We've got hundreds of people that are slowly trickling in that I know are excited to hear all the information we have to share. I'm going to go ahead and introduce myself, and then I'm going to let my two incredibly accomplished and esteemed peers introduce themselves and share a little bit about their history, background, and why this webinar is important to them. My name is Jared Coseglia. I am the CEO and founder of TruLegal, formerly known as True Staffing Partners. We've been providing talent solutions for eDiscovery, data privacy, information governance, AI governance, you name it, legal ops. We've moved into everything. It's why we rebranded to TruLegal to signal to the market two things. One, that we're really doing so much more than just the niche specialties that we were always known for. We are really reaching far and wide into legal. And two, that we are a fully AI-enabled business. Everyone in my organization is now fully AI-enabled. We are using AI all day, every day, both within our business, and we are representing the talent in legal who is wielding AI all day, every day. Some of you know that's you, and you're on this call because you want to get deeper or wider into your AI legal journey as a professional in this space. Some of you are yearning for guidance and maps to how to get that education, how to get that training so that you can compete in this marketplace for increased opportunity, increased compensation. And the reality is that AI enablement leads to both of those things. And we're going to show you the numbers over the last year that have gotten us to that conclusion. But before I do that, the number one thing that we're going to talk about on this call is what those roadmaps are to training and education in the relativity ecosystem. And I've got two people with me here today who are two of the most kindest, smartest, and they really know relativity because they've been there a really long time, and they're the ones creating and delivering the training and the certification that is within the relativity ecosystem. Please welcome to this webinar, Janelle Rice and Danielle Urban. And Janelle, would you just be so kind as to introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about you, and tell us why this webinar is so important to you.
Sure. Thanks so much, Jared, for the introduction. I'm Janelle Rice. I lead the training and instructional design team at Relativity. We create and deliver all of our live trainings and our self-paced trainings to our customers to enable both them to become educated and to help with their adoption of our tools. AI is a huge focus for us right now. We are learning together with everyone along the way and sharing the knowledge that we're gaining through our training. So really excited to be here and talk about what we're offering.
Danielle, who I've known for decades. Tell us about
Has
you and
it
tell
been
us why.
two already?
It's
No,
we're coming up on almost 2 decades. Yes, we are almost coming
feels
up.
it
It's
feels
been
like a
at
long
least
time.
16 years, maybe more. Danielle, tell us who you are and why this webinar is so important to you.
Yes. So, hi, I'm Danielle, and I lead the certification and operations team at Relativity. And um, obviously, I love certification because that's my job. Well, not obviously, but it's really important that I think we are all trying to learn so that we are not left behind. At Relativity, are from the CEO to our chief officers in the respective departments are requiring and encouraging people to use AI, not air, like not relativity air, but the AI tools so that we know how to do it, so that we can do our jobs better. Um, and my favorite part about like working with the legal data community is when people have like wonderful moments with training and certification. So it's not even all about cert. It's really like helping people do their job better. And if they do choose to validate their knowledge, like the positive impacts and benefits that can come from that.
Yes, 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 and yes. And we're going to talk about what those differentiators are between training and certification, because there's a couple things here that I think are important for everybody to frame their thinking on as we go into this webinar. Right, everybody?
Indeed.
Hiring managers aren't just looking for tool skill sets, right? Not yet. They're looking for a shift in mindset. When we talk to specifically corporate leaders who are running in-house law departments, they talk a lot about things like creativity, experimentation, ability and willingness to fail. And we're going to talk about those characteristics as it relates to AI and the future of careers in legal. But first, Katie, for those of you who don't know Katie Player, she's amazing. She's in our operations and marketing team here at TruLegal. And if you're like, why does he keep saying Katie, next slide? That's because Katie's running the deck. So thank you, Katie, in advance. Next slide, Katie. We are going to share a lot of how AI is moving the market. And here's how this hour will help you understand how you can move with it. We're going to cover skills gaps and growth opportunities. We're going to cover what training and certification investments make sense for you. We're going to cover how to build AI educational roadmaps within the relativity ecosystem. But before we do that, I want to dive deep really quickly and really fast into how we got here. Katie, next. Here's our data sources. So you're wondering, like, Jared, you're going to show me a bunch of stats. Where's all this data coming from? We have over 100,000 legal professionals that subscribe to our newsletter. This is the amount of inbound applicants and people we actually presented to customers in eDiscovery over the last several years. You could just see the volume of individuals who we're representing and also filling out our relativity self-assessment, which we'll get into as well, which we've been developing in concert with Danielle and the team over at Relativity. Next, Katie. So how has AI impacted legal? And then we're going to boil it all down to how it impacts your individual career in eDiscovery. Next. If you haven't read this article by Eric Dodson Greenberg, I really recommend it. It's probably what I would consider one of those foundational bits of research and intelligence that, for me, had enough quotables in it that have sort of framed what I think the next 5 to 10 years are going to do and what's going to happen in the legal marketplace, specifically as it relates to talent and technology. So we're looking here about, this isn't just a shift and we're buying new stuff. This is a shift in how we rethink and restructure legal from a pricing and delivery perspective. And things are in what we'll call scrambled egg kind of phase right now. We're figuring it out. Nothing has been codified, right? There are some clear winners. There are lots of new startups. It's a renaissance of technology right now in legal AI. But this is what I think is really interesting. It's not just about efficiency. It's fundamental differences. So Katie, let's keep going. Let's talk about what those fundamental differences are, right? We're not just talking about new tech. We're talking about the buying habits of corporate legal departments and the services and the law firms and the vendors that provide services to them changing, right? The buying habits of corporations are no longer going to be what they were before. They have different tools at their disposal. They're analyzing data in a different way, and they're putting different pressures on their outside counsel and on their service providers. And that's changing the way they evaluate software and services. And ultimately, that's changing the way everyone in the ecosystem, whether you're a service provider, a corporate law department, a consulting firm, a software company, it doesn't matter. They're all changing the way they look at talent. And I'll get to this at the end of this webinar, but maybe the simplest way to signal that that's happened is there used to be sort of 4 questions everybody got asked on an interview, and now there's a 5th. There's a magic 5th question. What are you doing with AI at work? And every single interview now includes that question. And people need to think about how they're going to respond to that question intelligently on an interview. It doesn't matter if you're washing dishes or the CEO of the company. You're getting asked that question on an interview over the next 3 to 5 years, guaranteed. So you need good narratives for that. That then leads to the changing of the job descriptions. I'll share with everybody, in Q4 of last year, 1 out of every 9 job descriptions we got in eDiscovery had a strong AI component to it in terms of desired skill sets or potential aptitudes. End of first quarter of this year, it's 1 in 4. That's how quickly the market is changing in terms of the job descriptions in the legal ecosystem changing and requiring more AI skill sets. And yes, Relativity Air is maybe the most demonstrable and recognizable shift of employers looking for a very specific skill set, a very specific technology to be wielded within a job as a desired or required qualification. Katie, keep going. So AI acceleration is automating routine tasks. It's exposing inefficiencies. So now law departments, the corporate side, are deciding whether they want to build or buy AI capabilities. And because AI and vibe coding and developing tech is different than it was several years ago, more accessible potentially, also potentially more complicated and risky, depending on what you're looking to do with it. But it is changing the equation for corporate law departments as to whether they build or buy. And the equation with which led them to buy this, build that, is not the same equation. The decisions will change. And the decisions are going to change around value. And that's the same thing with outside counsel. What we're seeing with our corporate clients is that that premium is shifting to an AI augmented expertise. Yeah, billable hours for AI augmented professionals might go up. Salaries are certainly going up for AI augmented professionals, so their billable hours are probably going up too. But they're not paying for volume anymore. They're paying for value. We're seeing more AFAs be required or desired by corporate law departments. We're seeing massive shifts in the talent ecosystem within those law departments, no longer being about coordination, but rather being about systems and controlling costs. And so for eDiscovery, the value redefinition we're seeing for in-house legal is that they want three things. They want cost reduction, hit it, Katie. They want faster actionable insights, and they want optimized internal processes. So I like to frame the conversation around AI and eDiscovery around these outcomes because corporate clients are now saying we no longer want to just pay for volume or execution. We want to pay for outcomes. And the way that they're trying to measure outcomes is around cost reduction, faster actionable insights, and optimized internal processes by integrating AI into all of what they do within legal. Katie, next slide. This was the technology ecosystem generally for eDiscovery about 3 years ago, maybe four now. Now let's take a look at all the technology that we're seeing in job descriptions, eDiscovery, legal ops, in-house law department. It's a much bigger. And you'll also see here, relativity is no longer just relativity. There are clear distinctions between employers that are seeking relativity air versus server, that are looking for nuance within the relativity ecosystem that helps them determine more accurately whether this person is able to help move the needle quickly within their team. Next slide. So we have a true self-assessment that we developed with Danielle. And for those of you that haven't seen it, you can see it on TruLegal.ai, our website. We've had thousands and thousands and thousands of people submit this. We have hundreds and hundreds of customers. We do business with over 367 of the Fortune 1000 and over 150 of the AmLaw 200. And 95%, Danielle, how proud are we of this? 95% of eDiscovery hiring managers now require our relativity self-assessment to accompany a resume before they will consider a candidate for a job. That says a lot, not only about the volume of people that require those relativity skill sets, but also that hiring managers are now looking to really drill down into the confidence levels of the job seeker at a very nuanced level. And Katie, next slide. Before we get into the AI specialization and talent premium, Danielle, I just want to bring you into this conversation and tell us a little bit about what the process was like for you in determining what those 75 different skill sets should be that are on that checklist, and tell us how you changed that checklist 60 days ago for us and what's on it now that wasn't there before and why that's important.
Yeah. So when taking a step back, when me and the team develop exams, we kind of high level, like make a big old list of all of the job tasks that make up a job role. And we get that information from you, from people in the role, et cetera. We then make a survey and say, hey, how frequently do you import documents, for example, and how critical is that to your role? And we ask it about all of the job tasks that make up a job. And then we kind of from there determine like what goes on an exam. And so that really became kind of like the where we a point of collaboration between me and Jared back in the day. It was because like I'm like, hey, we're doing this like job task survey. Maybe we kind of like mirror that to what's on the self-assessment and update it. And so me and the team quarterly kind of keep a pulse on um, to the best of our ability, who's taking the exam, what is on the exam, and also like how is relativity, the product, evolving. And so when we see, hey, there's a new this thing called air coming out, and these are all the new features, and now there's validation, and now there's XYZ. We don't want to test on it immediately because I want people to be trained. I want people to like know what air for review is, for example. I don't need them to get certified day one. And that's like Janelle's specialty. And so in the last few months, um, we've just kind of taken a look at everything air related, like what would make up those job tasks of a role of someone that is running an air project, and added those tasks or skills to the true self-assessment.
Katie, let's jump to that. I want everybody to see what we're talking about. We'll come back to this section here, but we'll come back to this in a second. We'll talk about all the comp in a second. Sort of mentioned those numbers before, but let's jump right into this. So this is our relativity skill self-assessment, and you'll see here just by the numbers, 92%, and this is over 7,000 individual job seekers over the last 7, 8 years or so. 92% have certifications, but only 3% of people that have filled out those have a relativity master designation, and only 5% have an expert. So I popped this up not to be Debbie Downer, but actually to be Debbie Upper, meaning there's a lot of opportunity there. I mean, people will pay a premium for you if you are an expert or a master in relativity, you know, and stop. You will make more money. So this is a great thing to pursue. As you can see here, in terms of when we break down where those certifications break up in terms of who has how many and where, most people are chasing that RCA with over 400 people in our ecosystem that filled it out. And I think we're going to see that. I mean, obviously, it's a lot more than that within the entire ecosystem. But you can see here what the main certifications are. It's those top four. Those are the ones that most people are chasing and getting and leveraging as part of their job search. Danielle, please.
And that is the most popular path into the program. People do typically start out with the certified pro, the review pro, take the review management, and then like kind of go for the RCA. And this doesn't happen in like one day. This happens over potentially years as well. But those that your data is reflecting like what we see on our side in terms of what exams people are pursuing in what order.
And it kind of signals, I think, a real desire at the beginning and at the mastery level of your career, and a real opportunity for everybody in the middle, meaning that what used to be the relativity certified user is a great point of entry, as you just said, right? For people to get in, start learning things, be able to wield the technology, the RCA being sort of the most advanced, and then lots of room in the middle for people to find their own specialization or where they fit in, and lots of room to distinguish yourself from others in the ecosystem based on where there is opportunity in that middle section, right? That Rel 1 Pro, the analytics specialist, the processing specialist. Those are the ones we see strong demand for in terms of job seekers. Okay, next, Katie. So now you're looking at what the actual bullet point would be if you filled out this checklist. So, for example, we would ask you, how strong of a confidence do you have in configuring and using review workflows? And what you can see here in the red, green, yellow, orange is what percentage of those 7,000 people are filling out that they consider themselves an expert versus they say they have no experience. And so what this data shows us is where there are talent gaps in confidence in the job seeking marketplace, and also where the greatest saturation or lack of saturation of confidence and skill sets lies in the general marketplace. And we believe this is pretty reflective of the general eDiscovery community if you were to extrapolate it out. What you'll see here is in this particular area as it relates to review, there is a density of lack of expert level confidence in those things in red, right? In using relativity, short view, and creating dynamic objects. We've sort of eliminated using case dynamics, but importing, supporting transcripts, not a lot of people doing that. These are areas of opportunity to go in and say, hey, these are gaps in the marketplace where someone with these skill sets and talents could come in and differentiate themselves. If we go one more, Danielle, Janelle, any comments on that before I get into the This is the stuff. The next one is really probably the most valuable. Go ahead to the
Go to
next
the
slide, Katie.
next. Yeah.
So you'll see here in bold, these are things that got added in the last pass that Danielle and I made on this checklist, which means these are going to be the things that are the hottest in demand, that are the newest skill sets, that are going to be, in my opinion, the most desired skill sets moving forward over the next 6 to 24 months. And you can see exactly what they are here, right? So if you've got on your resume that you're reviewing documents in Review Center, you're validating a prioritized review queue, and you're reusing a saved model, and you're using Review Center metrics, all of that are going to be things that more and more employers are asking for. These are the new skill sets that new candidates that are job seeking are identifying. And you could see, we don't have 7,000 data points here. We've probably got hundreds, not thousands, because it's so new, but you could already see what a hodgepodge it sort of is of where the market lies. So when I say scrambled eggs, this is what I mean. There's real opportunity for people to come in and figure out, oh, if I learn these things, I can move the business forward, which will ultimately help me move my career forward. Janelle, any comments on this? We're killing it.
I'm surprised that there are, I mean, I think it maybe does go back to sample size, but there are uh, people that are considering themselves as advanced in some of those newer tasks as well. So that um, shift is cool to see because where on this slide, it's a little bit like more people have no experience, some experience, and this is definitely related to error for review. Like certification comes into play, like we don't want to certify any like people with no experience. That would be a weird and bad use of time
Yep.
here. So like, we we like when it shifts towards advanced and expert.
So if we go back one, Katie, I think the difference between this data and the data we're going to show you next is this is a lot of people working in review. And the corpus and volume of people working in review is larger. And also, these people know that they've got these skills, so they're taking them to market because they know they're unique, they know they're differentiated. So why do we show so much activity here? Those are the people looking for jobs. The people looking for jobs are the ones that have gained those skills earlier than others and are now looking to leverage those skills, particularly coming out of review. Now, if we go to this next slide, we're talking much more about the AI analytics generative side of using relativity air. And you could see at the bottom, these are the new things we've added, and a stark difference in what we saw on the review side of the business, right? Nobody really hitting even double digits at expert, barely at advanced. And really, you got a lot of people with no or some experience in these areas. Everybody take a screenshot. This is where you need to be going in terms of what you need to learn in the relativity ecosystem to be more competitive and more invaluable to your employer. Danielle, Janelle, comments on this?
There's just
Um,
so much opportunity. Sorry,
that's
go ahead,
exactly what I,
Janelle.
I was going to say the same thing. Data like this is just gold for us on the training side to take a look at what skills people need help with. Where are they focused? What trainings would be of the most impact and create the highest impact outcomes for our customers. And so, yeah, this is just showing a ton of opportunity, which is great.
Chase this dragon. Next slide. All right, when we get into advanced analytics, we get a few more new things here, and you'll see, I mean, this is hyperbolic, right? We kind of organize this to show you people have got some experience, a little bit, not a lot, and then really, like, this is where there's almost no experience on the data breach side. In particular, air for data breach, there's not a lot of, at least for us in the last 60 to 90 days, not a lot of job seekers that either have that and are looking to leverage that. So again, a great opportunity to just take a look and see where future skill sets are building momentum and desirability. Next slide. A couple just broad observations from all this data. Widespread familiarity but limited mastery, meaning that middle section, right? Where somebody's got one or two certs, you get that third or fourth one, and now you're an expert, now you're a master. And that really does move the needle for you as a professional and for your business, right? Keep in mind, particularly if you had a service provider at a law firm, having RCAs on staff is cachet when they go to customers and say, we have these resources and they're certified, and that certification carries weight with buyers on the corporate side of the business. Lots of training opportunities, which is what we're going to dive into next in terms of that, what my roadmap is, and lots of vertical financial growth, which Did we skip that, Katie? Let's jump back to that really quick if we can before I really hand the mic over to Janelle and Danielle, just so that everybody can see that I'm not just whistling Dixie about the money following the AI, right? The money is following the AI, everybody. Let me say it again. The money is following the AI. In 2025, the average increase in base compensation for eDiscovery professionals across the board was around 10%. It's pretty average, right? It's on the low side, if I'm honest. If we go back and look at 2021, 2022, it was between 20 and 40%, right? That was the peak of the Great Resignation. Everybody was leaving, work from home, not work from home, remote, RTO, all these things really exacerbated what people were able to make. Have FOMO if you didn't make a job move then, because a lot of people got huge increases in comp. This is a normal average, 10%. But if you look at the non-AI enabled jobs, that drops down to 8. And if you look at a smaller corpus of people who got clearly AI enabled jobs where they had to be using AI or were largely using AI, they got a 15% increase. We anticipate that 15% is going to look more like 25% for those individuals, maybe even 30 to 40 over the next 15 to 24 months. There's just no way around it. The smaller supply, higher demand, and the increase in compensation for hiring for people who don't have those advanced skill sets is right now on average. My concern is it will become stagnant and eventually it will begin to decrease. And these are going to be the opportunities where there's compensation viability in terms of vertical mobility. All right, let's go talk about training versus certification. Katie's going to click through us there. Here we go. All this glorious data, all of which will be available to everybody on the call. So Janelle, Danielle, I'm going to turn it over to you. Break down for us so that people really understand the ethos and the difference between training and certification and how they should be framing their pursuits in terms of both.
Sure. Yeah, happy to do that. Thanks. First, I want to just ground us. It's important to ground the conversation in not only the tools and the AI, but also the career shift that you can make. And we're seeing legal professionals shift how they're creating value. So an important piece of that shift is training. So it's preparing you to apply, not just understand the technology. You're staying current with the latest and greatest tools. You're getting hands-on with real workflows. Ultimately, it's about building confidence working with complex tools such as AI. Training builds fluency. And then on the certification side, certifications demonstrate that you're staying up to date with the technology, improve outcomes and efficiency of your job. Also, career advancement. We talk a little bit about that in terms of salaries and enhancements. It boosts your credibility. There's higher earning potential and it increases your credibility and recognition. So certification signals fluency. So basically, in the context of AI, the tools are changing, the tools and technology are moving and changing fast. So you need both the skill and the proof of the skill. And so that's really kind of the difference between training and certification. You need both, definitely, particularly when you're building complex skills as AI and different emerging tools. But really, the training is what builds the capability, and then the certification proves the capability. Next slide, please.
And Janelle, just to echo what you said, I mean, I've never seen things change. I've been doing this for 27 years, and I've never seen things change so fast. So what you said about this is not a exercise in achievement, but an exercise in practice. Like I do yoga, right? You can't do yoga once every couple of months and expect to get results in the same way of making it a practice, right? We are lawyers. We don't run a business. We run a practice that requires ritual. So I'm hoping what you're about to break down for us are what are some of those rituals that we can begin to develop at different levels of our either financial journey or sophistication, level seniority of our journey within that relativity ecosystem.
Sure. Yeah, happy to do that. So, how do you get there? Well, AI fluency to us is a path. It's not one event. So the starting point could be our free offerings. They really build your baseline in AI fluency. You can learn workflows, get exposure to AIR, and they're quick. You can immediately use what you learn. We have learning labs. We have plenty of self-paced free trainings. Right now, we're offering our workshops, our AIR workshops, at no charge as well, which is a great opportunity to just get in there and get hands-on with the product. Then the mid-cost area is really kind of about building on those foundational skills. So we offer hybrid trainings, which are a combination of both self-paced and live sessions. And so it's a little bit more of a commitment. They are paid for there. And then this is where we start to see, the exams and the certifications come into play. So we have different levels of exams from pro all the way up to RCA. Then the blank check, I like to think of that as really like scaling the team or the organization. That's really about the full certification paths that we offer, hands-on training for entire teams, prepaid credit packages, things like that. So really you can get started, quickly and for free at any time, and then, work your way up as you advance. And right now, what we're seeing in our experience is there's like a career progression. So we have people who are engaged and they're just like learning about the products, the very basics, getting started. Then there's the adopters who are using the products in their day-to-day work. And then there's the champions, and those are like the trusted advisors known in companies to really have a strong understanding of not only the technology, but how it works in their workflow, what is important to keep in mind. And so really, these tools are powerful, but not everyone is going to become an expert in them overnight. So this is really a great opportunity to shift your role from kind of like the doing to more like the interpreting, the advising. You become more of like a trusted partner. It's basically going from just doing the work to really defining how the work gets done. And we find in a person that takes training is 3.3 times more likely to kind of move up those levels. So it's a really great place to get started and just start that journey and increasing your knowledge.
And Janelle, before I transition into the certification side with Danielle, I want to frame or maybe even reframe the conversation for a second. Because I think a lot of people that are on the call, and I'm looking at some of the Q&As, and we're going to get to that in a second, are individuals that are looking for advancement. But we've also got some people on the call who are leaders, who are looking to level up their teams or potentially their businesses or potentially their law firm in its entirety. And I'm wondering if one or either of you could comment a little bit about what have been the most successful points of entry for hiring managers or leaders in the space to get different people in their legal ecosystem this sort of training, and what training should it be? For example, we've got somebody asking, should a paralegal be able to do this kind of work, or is it just going to be the lawyers? And obviously, we know that a paralegal who does this work has the ability to way level up their value within a law firm or an in-house law department, move into something much more valuable in terms of project management, strategic consultation. I mean, there's a whole chain of vertical mobility and financial mobility to answer that question. Thank you, Kathleen. But Janelle, Danielle, talk to us a little bit about that from the leadership perspective. How should leaders look at this, and how would you guide and advise them on how to educate and train their staff?
Sure. I think coming at it from the perspective of who you're trying to train and kind of where you want them to end up, how they'll be using the AI in their particular role. Because, if we have attorneys, they're not going to be the people who are in the tool, like setting up the background of AIR, for example. They're really going to be using the results from AIR. And so depending on what role people are in is really going to point to kind of like the right solution. We find that learning labs are a great entry point for people. They're guided, they're in the product, they're step by step, what to do next. So no matter the level, I think that's like a great entry point. It's, they're free and they take about 20 minutes, so it's not a huge time commitment either, but it really shows the value of using these tools. And then I think for the more complex roles, litigation support, people who are in more technical roles, that's where, moving up to the next kind of level of depth would be like a workshop. So the workshops really kind of dig in and get more into how to use the tool really in a more workflow type way. So that would be where I would suggest starting. And both of those right now are free options. In terms of like as we get to the live kind of like paid training, that training is really good for people who are just kind of learning relativity, maybe at the beginning of relativity or learning how to use it in a different role. Those are really like foundational courses. And so those courses would really be very good for somebody who's just starting out or maybe transitioning from server to rel 1, or maybe they're coming off of another tool. That would be a great place to start. So my suggestion would be really to kind of take into consideration what outcome you're looking for from these people and start there with where to begin.
I love that. And I'm going to hand it over to Danielle. I just want everyone who's listening to know that we are doing a sweepstakes at the end of this webinar. And if you're on the webinar now, don't leave, because we're going to reveal 3 winners of the sweepstakes at the end of this webinar, but you got to be on the webinar. So we're pulling that list. If you're on the webinar now, stick around to the end. You could get a sweepstakes of training and certification, or training from Relativity. Danielle, please jump in, and then we're going to move on to the certification ecosystem that is associated with all of this training.
Yes, I think one thing to add too is that the most successful um, teams and companies like commit and understand the value of training and certification. So that is from like the top down, leadership supports it. And this kind of gets into like, do you give people time to study? Or if that's not realistic, do you pay for their exams? Or if that's not realistic, like do you have like a mentoring or kind of like um, shadowing program, or can you just like allow folks to gather over lunch to talk about week 1 of the RCA study prep course? So in like getting people in your company or in the kind of community to help you learn like what you don't know, because like relativity platform is vast. There's a lot of products, a lot of moving parts, a lot of features. Um, and so like generally companies that invest in their people will get more out of their people as well. And it,
Tell us
it doesn't
about
have to be monetarily. But
Agreed. Tell us about the certificate. So we've done all this training. We've learned a ton. We're working in the product. We're on the job, and we're saying to ourselves, "I want to validate. I want to validate what I know." Tell us about what exists now, Danielle, in the certification ecosystem, and then maybe some surprises that are coming our way.
sure. So these are all the exams that make up the relativity certification program. So let's take a quick minute to review in case you're unfamiliar, but I'm keeping an eye on time because I could talk about these for a while. So at the bottom of the pyramid are our pro exams, and these are really beginner level, foundational. They are meant for you to be able to walk away knowing like the key points, the key differentiators, the most important features of the product, like generally what it is, how you use it. Um, Passing a pro exam really means like you're tested on foundational knowledge, and we do have you leverage like the documentation site and relativity learning where all our self-paced courses are. And so you really kind of get like the lay of the land with like relativity documentation, the rel learning website. Um, and there's 2 ways to do it. Like we do give you the questions for the pro exams, but our intention is like that you learn from this experience so that you are resourceful. You can go to the doc site. You can like get a little bit curious and watch maybe more videos on relativity learning. Um, or you can just memorize the questions and pass, but like don't recommend that. Um, the middle section here, the blue, is our specialist exams. So the specialist exams do require like a deep knowledge into that area of the product, like analytics or processing or review. These exams have associated 12-week study paths, and we do recommend you do study for about 30 hours in addition to having actually used the product. We recommend 6 months experience. Obviously, it depends on kind of like what that experience is. I forgot to mention the pro exams cost $50. We test on between 40 to 50 questions. The specialist exams are 250, and there's about 75 to 80 questions. And then that brings us to the RCA, which is an advanced certification requiring kind of both that depth and breadth, like the specialist exams, but really of the entire platform. So what's different about the RCA is upon registration, we do give you access, and I think this was one of the questions in the chat, but we do give you access for 12 weeks to a RCA prep environment where you can get, like, it's your instance. We give you templates, you can follow along with a workbook and associated data set and practice. If you don't have features turned on in your production environment or however you access relativity today, most features you need to know about for the RCA exam are in this environment turned on and you have access to them. Um,
Yes,
all
that
of,
was Sean's question. So thank you for
okay,
preemptively answering the sandbox question, and thank you for that, Sean.
cool. Um, and I think I forgot this is RCA is $300, 75 to 80 questions. And then all of these exams are in multiple choice format right now, but we do have a desire to kind of return to performance based where you are like evaluated on doing stuff in relativity. So stay tuned. Hopefully next year we return to performance based. Next slide, Katie. Okay, and then within the certification program, there are designations, and you heard or maybe saw Jared talk about the relativity expert and relativity master designations. So really, when you combine your RCA plus 2 specialist exams, you can achieve the relativity expert designation. And similarly, when you combine the RCA plus 4 specialist exams, you can achieve the relativity master designation. These designations are awarded and maintained by you earning like RCE or relativity continuing education credits towards your exam. So you don't pay more money for it. You organically earn them as you kind of achieve more exams. And relativity masters make up just 5% of all certified professionals. So I think, was
So
it
small.
3% in your survey too? So
Yeah.
we're seeing, yep, it's very small. Next slide. Okay, so let's get a little specific on which exams have AI and or error on them. So here is the list. The team, as I said, does update and review exams regularly. So as new features are developed related to these job roles and products, we will add them to the exam. That doesn't happen right away. We want to give people a chance to get trained, learn about the product, learn how to use it in real life, and then kind of evaluate their knowledge. Also, an example, let's say you were like an RCA certified circa 2013. Cool, air didn't exist then. Have not kind of been validated. Your knowledge on that has not really been validated. However, we do feed you RCE credit, or which is relativity continuing education credit content to make sure like you're learning about it or give you the opportunity to learn about it and kind of validate your knowledge with RCE credit learning paths that do have kind of a short knowledge check at the end. Um, Okay, so if you've been here for a while, like remember that Relativity has been using AI before AIR, technically with features like assisted review and active learning. And in this list, the pro exams are really specific to the products themselves, with the exception of GenAI, which kind of covers a bit more. But we don't want you to have to take like an exam for every single product. And so we're looking to kind of simplify how we test on all of our newer products in the near future. Next slide. Okay, so in the 45 minutes that we've been chatting, you may be wondering what you should do next. So here is an example plan of next action. So first step, 1, you should today register for the relativity community. It's free And this will get you access to one, study materials, and two, relativity learning, which is like our LMS, where all the kind of self-content in person, well, not in person, but self-content and registration for in-person and hybrid trainings live. Um, in relativity learning, you should locate the AI fluency learning path and get started on it. It's free. It will kind of guide you through all things AI. So next step, number 2, get going on the relativity, or I guess the AIR Learning Lab. So there is an AIR for Review Learning Lab. A learning lab is a 15-minute self-paced exercise where you are hands-on in relativity. Um, and you'll get to use those tools in a live relativity environment that you may not have access to today. It is also free. Step 3, my recommendation is to check out the GenAI Pro exam. So like you are taking, AI fluency where you'll learn about the products, and then you're getting hands-on with one or more Air for Review, Air for Priv, et cetera, products in relativity. GenAI Pro covers most of those products. So I would recommend you take a look at the study resources and just decide if you want to commit the $50 and kind of like the 10 to 20-ish hours of study required for that if you're very unfamiliar with the product. And that's what's cool about pro exams too. You don't need any experience with these products. You can take them and be successful, and that's your first step. And I think that was also a question, like, where do you start? And like, how do you say, I don't have experience, but I want to get more experience? This is a cool way to do it. Like, I'm on this learning journey. I've gotten hands-on. I've validated with this foundational, but still, I did the work to prove that I have a minimum set of knowledge or information
Just that
and can
you've
talk
taken
about it.
steps, right, Danielle? I mean, like,
Yeah.
let's not overcomplicate it. I mean, people go on
Yeah.
interviews. We go back to how we started this webinar of like, what are you doing with AI on the job? And you don't have an answer. Now you
Yeah.
do. Well, I'm getting my Gen AI Pro certification from Relativity. It's a low barrier
Yeah.
to entry, but it's where I feel like I need to start on my AI journey. And now you're having a conversation instead of deflecting a question you don't have an answer for.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. Okay, I'll speed this up. So you can take the exam, and then if you have enjoyed your journey, you can go back and take more. We've got Air for Priv Pro, Data Breach Response, or maybe you're like, these are cool, but I want more. And then you can kind of explore the specialist exams and the content associated.
By
Next
the way,
slide.
we always get people coming to us asking the question, Danielle and Janelle, of how do I get my company to pay for this? I really want to do this. I want to be a relativity expert. Well, what we've given you today, everyone, if that's you, is much more than I want, right? This is a clear roadmap for you to now really go and articulate a nuanced journey for you or your team to go get budgetary approval, right? It's one thing to say, I want everyone on my team to be relativity certified. Well, what does that mean? Like, that could mean a million different things, and not everybody in your ecosystem needs to be an RCA, right? Some might not. It might be better for others to start with other parts of the ecosystem. So we hope everyone will use this to roadmap for their teams or for their individuals and use it for advocacy, because specificity usually leads to permission. Vagueness usually leads to doubt. All right, next
Cool.
slide.
Yes. Okay, so if you're still unsure about where to begin, we also have a self-assessment. It's super popular. Um, you will, like, based on your answers, um, the assessment will suggest a path or a good next step based on like your experience, like years in the industry, job role, and your goals. That's on our website, and also at the end of this webinar, there will be a link. And then I think there's another part of this slide. If you hit those two, yep. So these kind of just summarize like if your goal is to upskill on Air for Review, you should take the next steps. Get access to the community, relativity learning, explore the training resources, review the certification study materials, see if you want to take an exam. Um, if you're like, that's cool, but I want the RCA, similar suggestions here. Explore the training resources, review the exam objectives, identify a goal date, and we are on a pause with exams right now. They will be available again in July. But this is a great time to kind of get familiar with maybe like where your gaps are for the RCA in this example or any. Um, and use the certification study materials, use the training materials to kind of set yourself up for where you want to be in the second half of the year. Next slide. Okay, so there's a lot of numbers on the screen. General gist, I'm really proud of the existing relativity community for setting and achieving goals and maintaining their certs and expanding their knowledge. There's more than 7,200 unique people in 59 countries that are very active in the community, very active in the training program and in the certification program. So if you do choose to become part of this group, know that your expanding knowledge will differentiate you from your peers. It will provide better customer service to whatever role you're in and in whatever role you're in to your customers, and you will have an impact on your company. Our top customers are accelerating the fastest with adopting AIR. The pattern is the same for certs. We're seeing our pro level certs with AIR gain more traction quarter over quarter, which leads us to the next slide.
Yeah, so what does that mean? What does that mean?
Yes. So you've heard a bunch about all of our certs. Generally, we're excited to share that we're going to be creating a name to be decided still specialist exam focusing on air for review. So the appetite is certainly there from the community at this point, and we're excited to validate the knowledge of those using air. And so it's time to get
Can we
deeper.
get a round of applause? Can we get some like virtual applause? Because we all want it, Danielle. So thank you. Everyone
Good.
wants it. I mean, look, we saw the laundry list of all the certifications we could or need to take to get full proficiency, validated in, generative AI with relativity. To have it centralized in one place where people can go and feast, I think is going to be really, really impactful for justice, much less the legal community as a profession. Yeah.
Okay. So stay tuned. That will be coming likely in Q3. Also, very soon, July, a better experience is coming. So we are really focused on the customer experience and want to improve it. So we are transitioning to a new online proctoring vendor. Right now, all exams are temporarily on hold. We will be launching the new software in July. It'll be easier, more secure, better experience, and exists if you've got vouchers. More information to come in June. You need to replace your vouchers. We'll contact you. There's more information in our FAQ if this is news to you. And I think that's it.
Okay. Let's zip through this quickly. Then we're going to take a couple questions I have here in the Q&A, and then we're going to have a sweepstakes. So for job seekers, this is what AI enabled for hiring managers and job seekers. If you're an AI enabled professional, this is what you're asking hiring managers. And there's a question that we're going to come to in a second about more or less what happens if I work at a place that doesn't want me using AI and isn't giving me access to the tools and doesn't quite get it. What do I do? We'll get to that in a second. But then there's the flip side of I'm using this all day. You want to hire me. Where is your posture? If you're a hiring manager and you're interviewing people that are AI enabled, you need answers to these questions. Do you have a defined AI strategy? Are you investing in training? Is experimentation encouraged or considered a waste of time? And who owns AI? Because it keeps changing everywhere. These are really important questions for you not only to have answers to, but for anybody else that's interviewing a candidate to have the same answers. Because an inconsistent answer is the same as a wrong answer. Next. How are you using AI at work when you don't use AI at work? And there are at least 3 people that asked questions about this that I think are having this personal experience. Hiring managers, you can redirect. Here are 4 ways to redirect the conversation when someone's like, well, they don't let me use it, right? Here are 4 really clear questions to redirect. And these can come in different iterations. For you job seekers, if you don't use AI at work, you better have answers to these questions, right? Particularly the last one, because I've been feeding this to some of my clients, and the response I've been getting is, oh, that's a great question, because then I'll be able to tell if they've done their research and if they're reading what's new in the news and they're seeing what technology is out there. Did they sit in on the webinar with you, Jared, and listen about all the opportunities that are available in the relativity ecosystem? Do they have an opinion? Because you'd be amazed at how many people go out on interviews and don't even have that. They have a void. A void can't be helped. Hunger can be fed. A void is an empty space. So you've got to go in with some ability to talk about your yearning, not just that you are yearning for AI education and training. Okay, next slide. I think we've talked about all this. You can go find more resources here. This deck is available in the host tools. So here are all the resources, and that AI fluency path that Danielle spoke about is listed here. So you could click right on and go right to that path from this deck. Danielle, any comments about this slide?
This generally outlines your next steps. So relativity community, step one to access to everything. Relativity learning is access to the self-paced courses, etc. The learning labs you can find in Rel Learning. Access eDiscovery is a great intro to eDiscovery course, also in Rel Learning. A Fluency Path in Rel Learning. All of these are in Rel Learning, except this training self-assessment and certification self-assessment, which are on our websites and super popular. We hear good feedback about them, and hopefully that will kind of point you in the direction of like which training you should start with or which certification or in the certification self-assessment, it also can redirect you to training if you're in need of that too.
All right, gang, let's have a sweepstakes. So we wanted to do this as fair as possible. I've got one person on my team who's giving a number and another person that's going to associate that number with a list of names. So for the first win, this is what we're giving away. Training and, I'm sorry, not giving away. This is what the sweepstakes is. Training and certification credits from Relativity simply by registering today. Here we go. Let's do number one. What's the first prize, Katie? Prize number one is, let's see it.
Number 52.
Number 52, and that goes with the name Jason F. We'll keep last names confidential, but Jason F., there's more than one Jason F. The Jason F. that hears from us, you just won the sweepstakes for a $50 value of free Relativity Pro exam. Number two, Katie, who's our second number?
Number 2 is 77.
77 goes to Christy M. Christy M., if your name is Christy and your last name starts with an M, congratulations. You just won $250 of value in the sweepstakes. You won sweepstakes. Okay, here we go. Number three, Katie, who's our third and final winner.
Number 162.
Number 162. And what do they get, Katie? Oh, boy. Congratulations to Norm D, as in dad. Norm D, congratulations. All three of you, Jason, Christy, and Norm, will hear from someone at Relativity. And congratulations for the sweepstakes. And we've got 2 minutes left. Before we close out, we're going to take a quick question. There's one question here that I think is a really great one. As a lit support attorney running reviews, a small vendor chosen by the firm routinely tells me things are impossible that I know can be done elsewhere. Hence my need to get an RCA. Are there tier levels of vendors applicable only to air or all of Relativity? And does the tier level determine what tools within Relativity the vendor can access? I think we're talking about different ranks of vendors of gold level this, right? If you have a certain amount of RCAs, you get a certain ranking within the ecosystem.
Yeah.
Is there any distinguishing factors for air forwardness in that assessment?
Great question. I have not memorized the requirements for the partner program, but yes, there are different levels in the partner program. I feel like this question was more about, do the partner levels indicate what you have access to in Relativity? And the answer is no, except if like if that if that partner is paying for specific like paid features. So regardless of like your partner status or not, that shouldn't limit like what's in your contract.
I think what's important for this person who asked this question is if you get this training and education, you know what you don't know. You know what's available so that you can ask these vendors the right questions about what they're using, what they have available to them, what they're licensing, what they're not, and why. Because there is a lot of separation from apples and oranges out in the ecosystem. A lot of people only use server. A lot of people are completely on cloud. Some people are hybrid. Some people are wielding air as much as possible. Others are still adopting. So I'm hoping what this education will also do is not just empower you to use the tool, but empower you to be able to talk intelligently with those who do so that you make sure you're getting the right service, not just the available service. So I do like that question. We are right at 1 o'clock. I want to thank everybody for coming. We're at the end. If we didn't answer questions, we'll try to follow up with everybody individually. I want to thank Janelle. I want to thank Danielle. Just two of the most lovely people that care so deeply about moving the community forward. You can connect with all of us here. Katie, back it up. I'm going to do my shameless plug. If you want to see me talk more, we're doing, you can read about all the things I'm writing about, particularly as it relates to corporate law departments. I have a monthly series. We're doing another webinar after the summer with these amazing forward-thinking AI legal professionals. And we're going to be talking about the exact thing we talked about, build or buy, and why they're making those decisions, how they're making those decisions, how that's changed in the era of AI. If you're coming to Concero and you're in privacy, you can see me speak in June. I'll be there. If you're in privacy and you want to attend and you're a corporate legal delegate, get in touch with Monica today. Final thoughts, Danielle and Janelle, to our audiences before we wrap today.
We did not get to all the questions. And so if you want to reach out to Relativity with your questions, certification@relativity.com is a great place to get a hold of the training and or certification teams. Thank you so much, Jared. This was a lot of fun. And Janelle, always love working with you.
Yeah, yes, it was great. And thanks to everyone who attended and who was so engaged in the comments. I saw people were cheering the winners on and everything like that. So thanks to everyone, and go get started. Just go check it out.
No one left behind. No one left behind. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.